Good morning. Let me welcome you here on this last day of our summit. How are you doing today? Yeah, I see some smiles. That's good. Friday is usually more optimistic day than the others. When we are asking how are people doing today during energy transition day, we're getting much longer faces. So Friday is my favorite day because we are speaking about innovation and investing today, and Friday is usually full of optimism, full of creativity, and full of practical application, which is something that I appreciate the most. My name is Karel Woldřich, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for today, which is really fancy title that is so going to my CV. And I think we have very interesting lineup for the morning and for the afternoon as well, but I will guide you through the agenda for the morning. Correct, that's the first part, which is called Financing Innovation. Can CEE countries become powerhouses of digitalization and innovation? We have two keynotes ready. You see both of them on the screen already. And then we have a panel discussion on the same topic to discuss more in depth. Then we will have about half an hour break. And we will follow with the block, which is called Investors to the Rescue, supporting startup scene in the CEE region. I think both of these topics are immensely interesting, so I'm really looking forward to listening what our speakers have to say. Without any further ado, let's jump to the first keynote, which is Mr. Ivan Bartoš, Deputy Prime Minister for Digitalisation and Innovation and Minister of Regional Development. Mr. Vice Prime Minister wanted to be here. He was really excited to speak here because he sees the impact of the summit and he enjoys the following our event. Unfortunately, he had some governmental duties because there were some interpellations in the parliament in these days, so he had to prepare for those. When I spoke to Vice Prime Minister, I shared with him my concerns about his prioritization, but he was very adamant. So he's not with us today, but he did record a video for us. So sit back and watch what Mr. Bartoš has to say. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. This week has been filled with inspiring panels, discussions and ideas regarding sustainable finance in the Central and Eastern European region, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the last panel of the summit where we will discuss sustainable innovation. I would like to extend my thanks to organizers of the summit for facilitating this opportunity for us to meet, discuss and exchange ideas. In our countries of the CEE region, we have a great opportunity to spearhead innovations in sustainable development and investments, and it is thanks to events like this summit that we can get together and recognize this potential together. The EU faces numerous challenges, including climate change, post-pandemic recovery, the transition to a low-carbon economy, and economic and societal challenges. Territorial cooperation programs are key in addressing these challenges. The CEE region has a potential to be the fastest developing economic area in the EU. With a robust industrial core, well-educated and skilled population, and strong ties across our countries fostered through long-term cooperation. By working together, we are well equipped to strive to transform our economies in a more digitalized, greener and more resilient economy. To this end, we have various funding tools available, including Interreg Central Europe, Horizon Europe, and the Innovation Fund, and crucially, the Cohesion Funds. We must strive to make sure that these funds actually help and do not harm to our long-term prospects. Sustainable finance with clearly defined attributes is an investment to our future. The only way out of the current crisis and the climate emergency is innovation, and we should use the funds we have to foster it not only in the current core regions, but to avoid squandering our potential in places that were not so lucky today. We need to address challenges of sustainability, greenhouse gas efficiency, and structurally damaged regions more effectively. We need to focus on transparency and take into account social and governance aspects as well. Less red tape, clear responsibilities. We need new ideas and innovative solutions to drive sustainable development. This is why it is important that we build an environment with faster talent, research and development and innovative approaches, well-connected, educated environment. It is important to say that the Central Europe has room for improvement compared to other economies. In order to become lead innovators and key competitors, we need to concentrate on recognizing and fostering our pool of talent as well as expertise. This is why we need to invest more in education, research and development. Systemic solutions need to strengthen entrepreneurship and support initiative. Our regions outperform the EU average in graduation rates of tertiary education, and we need to create an environment where this talent is motivated to stay in the region and allowed to engage fully in the economy. We can drive innovation by investing in innovation hubs and sandboxes which protect new projects from the pressure of bureaucracy and unfair competition. The new Net Zero Industry Act will provide further opportunities to support innovation. While many projects in the CEE region make use of EU funds and grants, private equity and venture capital remain crucial in order to achieve excellence. Public funds should be there to provide basic infrastructure and place to develop, but private money should be the final judge of performance. Sustainable innovation in the region will help us address our unique challenges. For example, cross-border regional cooperation and development can drive the development of renewable energy, protection of ecosystems, and climate change adaptation and mitigation. Knowledge exchange, technology transfer, and the sharing of best practices will help us enhance inclusive growth and create new high-value jobs in vulnerable regions. An absolutely crucial point is citizen participation. The energy transition and the use of sustainable finance in development and innovation need to employ the greatest possible transparency and consideration for social impact. Especially impact on vulnerable communities should be considered carefully, in line with the principles of just transition. This aspect is especially important in the context of deteriorating principle of the rule of law in the EU and the spread of disinformation. We need to support citizens' engagement and inclusion in projects on the local level. We need to deliver meaningful projects that will actually change their life, cut down on energy consumption and prices they pay, and provide jobs. Continued effort in digitalization is a key tool to this, and by modernizing government strategies, making them more transparent and reducing overlaps and waste. In conclusion, the CEE region brings a unique point of view of what is needed in driving sustainable finance and the energy transition. For us, it is not a cherry on the top. We need effective and inclusive sustainable innovation. If we do not connect key actors from the industry, government and academia to address our challenges, our future will simply be much worse. It is crucial, however, that we recognize the potential sustainable innovation has for transforming our economy in a greener, more digitalized and socially inclusive manner and make full use of this potential. Digitalization, cohesion strategy and other funds will play a key role in this process, and we need to make sure they actually help where needed and are not wasted. We will have no second try. I look forward to today's panel and future cooperation, where we will make use of the perspectives and insight gained during this important summit.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Prime Minister, not present. The second speaker we have for today, I'm very excited to welcome here Tomáš Studeník from Caelestinus Incubator. But that would be very oversimplifying of what Tomáš is doing because he's behind many activities. Let me just name those, but feel free to add some more if you want. So Tomáš is also organizing CEE hacks, which are marathons of global, correct, yeah? It's from your webpage. So marathons of uniting students from world solving different issues in different topics, starting healthcare, transportation, but also sustainability, which is particularly interesting activity for me. And second, Tomáš is organizing also quite famous events in the Czech Republic called, or maybe in the region called Fuck Up Nights, which is quite unusual and from what I heard, very interesting and entertaining activity. And Tomáš has also published a book called, and please do feel free to correct my English translation, Big Book of Fuck Ups. So, floor is yours.
Thank you. You did your research, so I basically have nothing to say. It's been a great 30 seconds of fame on stage and enjoy the day. No. When they asked me, the organizers, of course, probably they couldn't get anyone more dazzling, and so they said, yeah, Thomas, he's the expert on failure. So let's give him a call. And instead of talking about trends and numbers, you've heard it. I talk about how I drive innovations. And then in the end, I will tell you how I think the finance industry should help innovations in this region, this part of the world. So, as was mentioned, I organize these fuck-up nights. It's not an event where there are naughty things going on. It's basically an attempt to get young people rid from the fear of failure. So I think the biggest hurdle to innovation is fear. And when you travel outside the world to the West or to Asia or other countries, I think still one of the problems of Central European mentality is somehow you are afraid that you will fail, it will not work out, and everybody think that you are a failure. And this is my strategy, how to change it, how to fuel innovation, is first start with the mindset. The Czech traditional system, education, if you get a mistake in your test, you get a minus, you get a lower grade, parents are unhappy where kids turn up from school with low grades. And even my daughter, even I support her. I'm happy when she gets a B, a C, or a D. I actually applaud her. She's afraid she will not be perfect in her test. And I think this is a big obstacle that prevents young people to give it a go, to be bold in innovation. That's why I organize these events, fuck-up nights, every month. People gather and talk about what didn't go wrong, what didn't go right, what went wrong, publicly. And they try to take some lessons from their failures. And I think it's important to talk about real life without filters, that most of the time things don't go as planned. Most of the new ventures, and you know it probably because then you see the financial results go like down under, red numbers. It's very rare that a new venture, new project is successful. And I think, we do lots of silly things to attract attention, but we get lots of people who share, famous celebrities that are not afraid to set an example and also say, I failed. Then, together with Professor Hinek from University of Hradec Králové, we put together a course, Science of Failure, and we try really to say that failure fuels innovation. If everything goes smooth, then our brains would be small. Only if things don't go as planned, suddenly you have to think, you have to innovate, you have to come up with new ideas. We also published a book, a new one. There is a new one, The Art of Failure. So, of course, I encourage everyone to spend as much money as they can on books, distribute among employees, and make your organization more innovation-oriented. So this is the mindset. Don't be afraid. What comes next? Okay, I'm not afraid. I want to innovate. I'm a young person. I'm an IT talent, for example, some programmer, AI expert. I'm not at university, because if you look at students, those that really in the future will found startups, companies, they usually go away and they start making money, programming, building something. So we need to attract these talents to hackathons, to events where they can build find co-founders, and really early stage, this is the kind of event where it starts. Whenever I organize a hackathon and I look around, there probably are the future billionaires, the future Czech companies that will be famous, will make it in the world. Then some of the people, the founders of these companies are there. The new technology that is being born, no one understands AI these days. Everybody talks about it, but really, who is hands-on? Who knows what's coming next? Only some guys who are not at schools, they are spending their nights playing with OpenAI, etc. So they are at hackathons. For example, the Airbnb founders, if they didn't get their money when they were in this hackathon stage, then of course the investors, I don't know if it's Anderson Horowitz, they wouldn't be that big these days. You need to be early stage. You need to get the talents. When they hack and they like it, they usually incubate. That's why we set up incubators to help the students not work somewhere else and spend their time, with you in corporations and trying to make their money, so that in the night they can program and build the stuff they really want. But we let them for 3, 5, 8 months even work on their idea and try to build a prototype that actually can make it in the real world. Then they accelerate, they scale, they are big, you finance them, everybody's happy, big company, but then suddenly they need to think again. Maybe we are outdated again, and the innovation circle starts again. So that's why even large companies, they organize hackathons, they have their own incubators, because this is a everlasting cycle, how new ideas, new products are born. This is just to give you some idea. We also do it for cities. So we do it for the city of Prague. This is from Nakopni Prahu, Kickstart Prague. We do it, this is the green hack. Sustainability is one of the topics that young people are interested in. If you do a hackathon or an event in finance, well, why not? But as I found out, young people, young talents are interested in sustainability. They take it seriously. They are interested in the city, in making cities and life better, the services, the transport, etc. And healthcare, everything about health, well-being, that's something that they like. They think that makes sense, as opposed to the traditional industries like mining and others. That's difficult to get their attention, but if you are into sustainability in a serious way, in healthcare, in making life better, easier, and cities, because more than 50% live in cities, and it will be worse. We will all live in cities, and cities are a real problem because too many people in a small space and want everything. This is from the city of Prague. This is currently in about, next week there'll be a final announcing the teams that have some great ideas. They might need your investment, so you can join us on Friday via streaming. This is from ICEM. It's the Institute of Clinical and Experimental Medicine in Prague. They also feel then waiting for innovation to come from outside, it's better to actually start and do something, a grassroots initiative. So this is the first hackathon, even in Europe, that was organized inside a live hospital. Mostly live, of course. Meaning there are surgeries going on, and the mentors then run from the operating theaters with blood on their aprons and then mentor the teams and help them build some new innovation in surgery, in virtual reality, etc. This is how it looks in practice. I wanted just to give you some idea about the look and feel. Of course, you have to make these events exciting. So, for example, here at ICEM, the participants did their practice in surgical sewing. Of course, this is not a human cadaver, that's pork knuckles. So they took it home later on and had a nice dinner. But this is the stuff that everybody loves. Like, yeah, we are in a hospital, we have the surgeons, we do something. That's what gets them excited, and that's how we attract the talent. That in a few years we'll build a health tech startup, will need money to expand abroad, and will be a success. This is where it starts. Right, so this is just a list. We are in the hack and incubate phase. I don't do anything in the acceleration, selling, real product, scaling area. We are really focusing on early stage. Changing the mindset, get them to a hackathon, and get them to an incubator where they develop their idea and build something that has a real market potential. Caelestinus is the incubator. It's a health or medtech, health tech incubator where we attract IT talent, and together with ECAM and other partners, we try to discover new gaps in the healthcare market where technology can improve healthcare globally. We work with InterSystems, which is a US company that provides the financing, and of course they are interested in the startups using their healthcare interoperability standard for the US and the rest of the world. So this is, I think, an example how a company can help finance innovations early stage. They get startups that incorporate their technology and helps them in foreign markets. This year we have 21 startups. It's based here in Prague, but we are also hybrid, so everything is happening online. We have 8 from the Czech Republic, and the rest comes from around the world. And I think this is a very good for young teams, young innovators, to get exposure and work together with international audience and colleagues, so that they actually get a deep dive into how the US, Africa, or Asia healthcare systems work. This is one of the successful startups from last year. It's a bunch of Czech guys. The picture is taken in our office where we have our mascot called Caelestinus, and they are called HTG Medical. And this is, for example, just to give you an idea what they built. They built a device that measures how much you pee in a hospital when you lie after your transplant kidneys, and it needs to be measured basically real time. And they discovered a gap in the market, because in the hospital with medical staff, they found out that none of the existing equipment really fits the needs of those that need to run to the patients, measure how much blood is taken, and they can put it anywhere. So this is an example of companies that organize hackathons internally. I suggest maybe you can start doing the same. And instead of waiting for government or EU or other sources to help with this early stage, with the hackathons, incubators, because I know there is not a business plan yet, there is no KPIs. It looks very risky, of course. But if you just wait, then we will end up with demotivated young people who will go somewhere else, the talents, to other countries or to other continents. And we really need to get them rid of the fear of failure. That's the starting point. And this is my funnel, how to build successful and proud Czech startups. So thank you very much. I hope we'll meet at some innovation event in the future. Thank you.
Wow, what a great speech, Tomáš. Really, thanks a lot. And I was thinking when Tomáš was speaking how easy it is to give a great speech when you are doing great stuff. And you really are, so really thanks for joining us today. And I would also like to point out one thing, one red line that I see in both Mr. Bartoš's and Tomáš's keynotes, which were focused on youth and education. I think this is particularly interesting, and I told you that today will be a happy and optimistic day, and I'm looking forward to the next parts of the agenda, because I'm sure that will be the red line. This red line will be continuing. As the next participant, moderator of our next panel discussion is Ciprian Stanescu. And Ciprian, I have to apologize right in advance because I'm sure I will forget on something important that you're doing as well. But Ciprian is also doing many activities. He's president and CEO of Social Innovation Solutions, and what SIS is doing is running educational programs and business competitions. Again, many others. Feel free to extend my introduction. And these programs are focused on preparing young people for transformation and for the upcoming changes, and they are developing sustainable tech, policy, and entrepreneurial solutions. So, floor is yours, Ciprian.
It's always fun to get this kind of reaction before you do anything. So yeah. Well, thanks a lot for having me. I have a great panel to present to you, but I want to extend my thanks to Linda and Karel and Julian, who said Julian, and Lucia and all the team that you've done really a great job. It's very happy. I'm very happy to come back to the summit. Now, I have a great panel, and I would like to invite them on stage. So I'm going to start with, and I apologize in advance for mispronouncing your names. So I'm going to start with Senta Čermaková. Senta is Chief Innovation Officer at Deloitte and in CEE. Oh, these are very, very big. You should sit here. It's very nice, right? Great to have you with us. Lukas Dziekonski, Managing Partner, Montes Capital. You are a very energetic group this morning, I see. Klaus Beetz, he's CEO of EIT Manufacturing. Good morning, Klaus. Ian Burian, he's Head of Manufacturing Insights EMEA at IDC. And last but not least, Ivo Denemark, he's Director for Startups and Innovative SMEs at Czech Invest. Basically, he's the guy with the money. That's what I was told. So, well, great to have you with us. And we have a simple mission for the next 58 minutes and 9 seconds to talk about how we can, I'd say, boost not just finance, but the innovation level of CEE. I got an email from Julian a couple of weeks ago, and we as well, and he said that the CEE innovation ecosystem is not the best of the best. So I will actually want to look into that. But the first thing is that I want to also talk with them. So I have a geography test for all of you this morning. Before we go into geography, let's look a bit about what innovation is. Now, you might be familiar with this. This is the annual innovation index. You can read it online. You can find it everywhere. I tried to see where is the Czech Republic. So you can see it on ranked number 30. To some extent, it's the first country around us that is there. So congrats on the Czech team for doing this. But we talk about CEE. So my first question to all of you, and you can raise your hand, is this a good representation of what Central and Eastern Europe is? So if this is CEE, please raise your hand. No? Okay. Is this CEE then? Is this a better representation of CEE? Is this CEE? No? Okay. Is this CEE then? If you think this is CEE, can you please raise your hand? Okay. So in the break, we can take Klaus and the others that didn't raise any hands and ask them what CEE actually is. Because what happens is that sometimes the point of reference dictates the action. So CEE means something else for many people. From my country, from Romania, CEE is often seen as Warsaw, Prague, Budapest, and that's about it. And slowly Romania. If you go to Greece, CEE is somewhere else. But a lot of you said Greece is still CEE as well. So when we also make plans, that also matters. Now, coming back to our conversation, We do talk a lot about innovation, maybe too much sometimes. So I'm going to have you all answer maybe in 1 or 2 minutes, each of you. Is there a way that you see a solution even to increase the CEE innovation ecosystem collaboration? How can we work better together, presuming that we know who we are? So let's start with Senta. 1, 2 minutes, and then we go to other questions.
Again, good morning. I think that we need to differentiate 2 layers. Yeah? Whether we are talking about innovation ecosystem in IT, or whether we are talking about IT plus sustainability. Yeah? Because I think it's very different. If we talk about IT ecosystem in CEE, I think that we have something, and I think that we have like a very big driver in CEE, and this is Estonia, followed very closely by Lithuania and Latvia. Unfortunately, our big countries, yeah, like Czech Republic, Poland, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria, they are coming much, much later. And the willingness of VCs to invest into our countries, like Czech, Poland, is tremendously smaller than their willingness to invest into Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia. And if I talk about tremendous difference, it's basically 25 times different.
That's huge.
That's a big divide. I would call it like a digital divide. And do we, as the Central Europeans in Visegrad, feel that we are the same culture as Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians? Not, most probably not. Yeah, they are more closer to Nordic countries, yeah, such as Sweden, Denmark, those countries which are actually on the top of the list.
You can see that all of them there, top 20.
So I think that in IT, I'm very optimistic, together with Tomáš, that our Gen Z and millennials, they are really like big drivers. But unfortunately, where we lack the drivers are in the Gen X, basically people like my age, where the innovation is not part of our values and of our mindsets. Okay. And we are the decision makers. Of course, I'm not talking now about Tomáš and myself personally, because I think we are the outliers. But like generally, the decision makers are older, white men, and they are not too innovative. And fortunately, some of them are still having technical backgrounds, but innovation is not first what comes to their mind. What comes to their mind is make money.
I'm going to go to a white, young...
Sorry for being a bit provocative.
...capitalist, let's say, to Lucas from Montes. I mean, what would you say to that? To exactly, not the white part necessarily, but in particular with the very wide difference in investment. Do you feel that as an investor in the end?
Good morning. I feel that, of course, the question is how we define Central Eastern Europe. And if we look at if we take the map of your third choice, I think, and I agree that, of course, we are quite innovative when it comes to the Baltics. Estonia, Latvia, this is really where a lot of things are happening. Also, I think that we are quite innovative looking at Romania. Recently, the UE path was a great success story in the Central Eastern Europe. So this is something I think...
It's a great American company, yes.
And it's actually, but it also attracted a lot of positive attention to Central Eastern Europe thanks to this great success story. Yeah. Same like in Estonia, the case of Skype. And I think that this is also a good comparison between those two. Then on the other hand, Poland, I think, even though I come from Poland, we are a strong economy and a big economy, however, not much innovative. We are still really in this kind of old industrial approach of not innovating, but basically copying whatever, being in big production scale. And then on the other hand, we have, of course, Czech Republic and Slovakia, which are quite active. So I think what is the reason? There is, of course, many reasons, because you cannot name just 1 or 2. But first of all, I think our economies also in this region, why they are still less innovative, is because they're still gearing up and to the level of the Western European economies. And this is still something which is a process that will take years. However, on the other hand, I think that the climate tech and sustainability actually delivers a big opportunity for this growth and quick development of the ecosystems, because this climate tech revolution would need revolution in many areas, many technological areas.
But can you have a revolution without revolutionaries? Because what data shows is that we are heading into a hardcore gap of trained people, let's say, for the new green economy. And I would pass it on to Klaus, because you also have a pan-European hat, right? And an institutional, to some extent, hat. Many other hats as well. Is there a way to also invest in the people, not just in the machines? Because we really have we don't really have enough people for the new digital and green economy.
Yeah, definitely. We have to invest in people, and therefore I don't see it a little bit what Tomáš presented, that clever people went out of the university and started a business. I think universities play a crucial role in an innovation ecosystem. And we run in our education activities an own master school, an own PhD program, and I have always the honor and the pleasure to welcome the new students. And my message to them is quite simple, yeah? The professors don't like it that much. I say to them, I am not interested in the paperwork they have to do, the peer-reviewed publication. My expectation is that they establish a new venture in the context, the technology, they do their master thesis or the PhD, yeah? And we will support them if they want to go this way. And we have to bring the universities much more in an entrepreneurial thinking. Yeah, you know, when I was a boy, my uncles told me, hey Klaus, you are a clever guy, go to the German railway, there you have a safe job with a nice pension scheme and other goodies, yeah. After 15 years as an old white man, this was the absolutely wrong advice I got, yeah. We have to really promote this role, become an entrepreneur, become economically independent. This has to be promoted by the universities, by the professors, to the students. The universities should be proud, as they are to have a Nobel Prize winner in their alumni. The same, they should be proud to have a successful entrepreneur under their alumni. And they should invite them and celebrate them and should let them talk to the students how excited it is to establish your own business. Not all will succeed, but to the German railway you can also go when you are 35 or 40. Yeah? So this is what we have to bring across to the younger generation. Yeah. And let me say a few topics to EIT manufacturing. We are a European organization. When we started, we had a perfect start, the 1st of January 2020, and in February COVID came. Yeah. So this delayed a little bit our ramp up as a European organization, but we are dedicated to innovation. That it really, we don't fund any research. That we are looking for major technologies that need support for the last mile. That it really means when it comes to research, development and innovation, R&D and I, that it really means R&D and I and not R&D and die. This is in our innovation part. Then we support promising startups, and also here, our message is the European dimension. We are looking for startups that are already established in the local ecosystem, having their product ready, having a first customer, and we will help them to grow on a European level and beyond. This is our value proposition, for instance, for the technology incubation centers Czech Invest will now establish. This is how we can support these startups. Yes. Really focusing, you know, we have a group of business developers all over in Europe. It's for them a phone call from Prague to Paris or to Berlin or wherever to make a connection for this startup. Yeah. This is how we support startups, and I already mentioned our innovation activities. We run our own PhD program, our master program, also with a strong focus on innovation and entrepreneurship, that the students not only got knowledge about the latest technologies and engineering methods, but also how to make a business out of these technologies. And finally, to the CEE. We follow here the European Innovation Scoreboard. And according to the European Innovation Scoreboard, 17 out of the 27 countries are moderate and modest. And except Austria, all the countries of the map are in this category. And we have a special program, our so-called Regional Innovation Scheme, dedicated to those countries that are, according to the Innovation Scoreboard, moderate and modest. And one activity we are doing every year is our Women Entrepreneurship Award, especially for these 17 countries that are moderate and modest.
By the way,
I'm finished in a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that last year, Maggie from Prague, with her startup RoboTwin, won this Women Entrepreneurship Award.
By the way, after lunch, there's an amazing panel on that Julian is going to moderate on women in leadership and finance. I will come back to 2 points that you just made. Sometimes what I feel, and this is a question that we can take later on, is that we, not just the men, but mainly the men, in particular the white men, over a certain age, we talk to the young people and say, I will help you, because you're so young and you don't know how to do business. And then we see hundreds and hundreds of young startups that live in a parallel world, and they tell us and they show us how innovation is actually done, mainly because they have learned from our American friends who don't spend years in R&D, but have an idea, go to the market, test it. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So that's also a different aspect. I'm going to go I'm going to come back to IDC in a second. But we all talked so far about how innovation how innovation comes to life. What do you do from a governmental perspective? What are some of the challenges that you face with Czech Invest as a governmental agency? Do you have enough pipeline? Do you need more? Do you think you can spend more or invest more in innovation in the Czech Republic?
Okay, thank you for the question. It is always difficult to answer these questions because as a government servants we do as we are told mostly. But I have to say that with the project of technology incubation that we actually started last year, and yesterday we opened a second call where we plan to support about 45 to 50 startups in the early stage pre-seed stage. We feel like the quality is here, and I always tell this to politicians, even to entrepreneurs. We are not here to challenge somebody, to challenge the private investments. Our role in Czech Invest with this project is basically to fill the gap that we feel, and we are actually told by the trade, by the people on the market that it exists. We are being told by the founders, but also the investors. That is very difficult in Czech Republic, but I guess it's true in all CEE region to find the initial track, initial funding, especially if you have a deep tech product. That's why we don't really support basic market innovation. The world technological is not there to impress somebody. It is something that we actually are trying to identify, measure, and judge as well. Another thing is, and we get this quite often in CEE region, I think actually for the good reasons, the government is being challenged, like if we do or we could have qualification to judge startup, and honestly, we don't. That's why we actually incorporate the private equity representations in our jury members for the process, which is something not being previously much done too often. Usually, the government funding for the innovation projects is being judged only by the people who are focused on technology, so technology experts. But and this is something very, I would say, very typical for something that you already mentioned here. In the CEE region, and I think this may be true for the whole Europe, we focus on the technology, for the technology value, but we don't focus much time on when we are starting a new company, we don't focus too much on the problem itself. And so it happens quite often that we get a startup or founder who is very much in love with his product, but he's not in love with the problem. So Most of the time, we also, with our project, do this so-called pre-incubation, where they basically, they get to call us, discuss with our employees. They are not experts on the various fields of technology, but they talk with startups. They do talk with them a lot. So they, in the process, they actually get some knowledge about, and they get to learn from the founders to identify who's good, who's not good. And usually the easiest, I was myself in this position in the incubation process in the European Space Agency, ESA-BIC, that we run in Czech Invest as well. And 90% of the startups, I gave only one answer, or maybe one question. So who is your client? They usually have the answer. It is, I don't know, Škoda Auto. Okay, call them. And they were surprised, like, what? Like, do you know? Do you have some proof that they want to buy this? And they said, no, we are still in the development. I said, like, but of what? You don't know what you are developing, you know? And this is very typical. So in order of my limited experience with discussing with dozens of Czech founders, I would say that this is the main problem that we are trying to teach them, and this is something that even the juries are asking the founders who are applying for the government's grants. So this is a mind shift, because in the previous program, previous grants, this is only something you put on the paper. And this is the same with the applied research. We are trying to also incentivize people from applied research in the Czech research centers and universities to make spin-off, to make government spin-offs. And they are very surprised by this. So
that sounds really great. What is the main challenge that you have?
So the main challenge basically is the mindset. Is the mindset on both sides of the aisles, on the sides of even the government officials, because we are trying to do something new. We are trying to innovate how the government spends its money. We are trying to innovate the look on the even risks, how this could be approached, and so on.
Is it working well? Is it government open to be?
It's a challenge, but we believe that yes. In a nutshell, we believe that the outcomes will speak for themselves. We are also trying to incorporate as much of the private companies. We are establishing sectorial hubs for mobility innovation, eco-innovation. Okay. So we believe that even this, like captains of the industry, will speak for us. They will see the benefits of what we are doing to their everyday operations. That we will manage to build the ecosystem that will cooperate together.
I think that's a great source of inspiration for other countries across the board that can learn once you also get it on properly, right? Because you're still sort of at the beginning.
We actually, in the previous programs and the program that is up and running, we have about 80 startups that we already supported. So we have some track line that we can present. So.
And speaking of inspiration, Ian works for IDC, which is one of the largest, I'd say, top 3, top 5 companies in the world, understanding how the world works. So if you look at EMA, which is a huge space, like the map is bigger, what are some of the trends when it comes to innovation that you see that we can learn from and get inspired in Central and Eastern Europe?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you know, as you said, right? I mean, focus on my team is mostly the Western Europe, US, right? But by chance, I live here in Prague, Czech Republic, heart of the CEE. Then I also have, let's say, a lot of interactions with local companies, right? So, and what I was always thinking when we were working for I would say companies from picking from the people from this, let's say, top 5 most innovative countries in the world, right? So like Netherlands, great example, right? So I was always wondering how they did that, right? What was that I would say enabler of that success, right? So when it's, I mean, in my area, which is industrial, manufacturing, supply chain thing, so this is a really like the innovation hubs which are really working together, right? So they are really creating, or I would say speeding up those innovations, and there's very close collaboration with the industry, which is unlike here in our region. I mean, we can talk about these, let's say, captains of the industries, but these are really like I would say, how to say it in a nice way, I mean, these are really like old-fashioned guys, right? They don't need that my scientists or
So if you would get €1 million tomorrow as a consultant, and you would have the ability to get into the minds and maybe even hearts of some of the decision makers or incubators, whatever you want in the region, what would you say we should do to collaborate better as innovation hubs? Be it Bucharest with Krakow and I don't know, Sofia, etc. You have €1 million, so must be a very good solution.
Not sure if it's about the money, right? Because, I mean, you can have those innovation hubs in the different countries and work together, and I think this is happening already now, right? So on this level. But on the other hand, you need to have a market for these startups or for these companies, right? So like Czech Republic is one of the most industrialized countries in Europe, maybe the most one, right? If you look at it for a certain perspective. But does it really create the, I would say, the environment to come up with some super cool, maybe scientific idea and sell it to the industry, or not just to sell it, but just to try or test your idea in a real environment? You know, you probably, everybody's, as we heard what Ivo said, right? Škoda Auto, right? If you ask, any startup in the manufacturing area, they would like, oh, we work with Škoda Auto. And what else? No one, right? So this is what I see. In the US, when we get briefed by so many, let's say, like a small IT companies who are briefing us on being in our reports, they already have even, let's say, in a very early stage, interesting logos, right, in their presentations. Maybe not the big projects here and there, but definitely that environment is more, I would say, creating the chances for the startups, for small companies to come up to test the solution, maybe to say, okay, we failed, but that's okay, right? So this is what I'm missing here in CE area, right? This time of the mindset.
So what you're saying is also that we're so many and so small that it's difficult to just go, global to some extent. But there are companies from this region that created innovative products and services and went global, usually to the US, because this is where the money lives to some extent still. And this is a question for whoever wants to pick it up. There is no secret recipe to create global products in CE. But what do you see as good examples or things that we can learn from Poland, from Bulgaria? It doesn't matter from where that we can learn from. So
I can start. I think we don't have role models in our region, but we have role models, for example, in Israel. Israel is a country which is typically very similar size to our countries like Czech, Hungary, Poland is a little bit bigger. The mindset of the startuppers and innovators in Israel is our market is too small. Yeah? So at their first idea, when they come up with the business plan, when they first pitch to the investors, it's already like we go to US. This is basically in their head. And this is what I am missing in the head of our innovators. Maybe they have the same quality, maybe they are even better engineers. We have fantastic schools, education system in CE is, I think, fantastic and plus for free, especially this STEM system. But I think it's about mindset, first thing. And then the second thing, and I think this is where Tomáš is doing fantastic job, is our people, they are very good technically, but they are very poor in their soft skills. They have problem to sell themselves on the global market. And it's not about coding. I think they are pure, fantastic coders. But when they should present to the audience, wonderful audience like you, they are very shy, they are very technically driven, they don't know what to say, they don't know what is the unique proposition. So I think this is the role of us, elders, to mentor those people, especially those of you who have some experience with the global markets, with the US market. I think this is about training, how to pitch, how to deliver a good business proposition, how to find the investors, how to talk to them, how not to be shy, how to be proud at my craft, I mean coding craft. And then I think, like long term, we need to educate the generation of marketers, visionaries, futurists, yeah, and I think this is where Tomáš is doing very good job, but it takes so long. We need to accelerate. And maybe now this kind of disruption which is happening around us, generative AI, will accelerate our brains, I mean technical brains, yeah, in those skills where we are lacking.
Yeah. Lukas, you also invest in deep tech, IoT, AI, etc. Do you feel what she's saying, that young people are shy? Because I don't at all.
I agree that the human component, the human component is very important, and I agree that actually with the idea that a lot of the times the founders, for example in Poland, they are looking at finding a great business model for a Polish market because they think, oh, it's 37 million people, customers, it's great, let's be #1 in Poland. Doesn't matter anything, and then this company has no future. So I agree that you have to immediately, as a young founder, think about global markets and how my product will be revolutionary globally and not only locally in the country or in the region. However, I think that what actually we are missing a lot of the times is that maybe a lot of the people are shy, but on the other hand, what we're really missing is the right education, economic business education of those young founders. Because we meet a lot of great scientists who have developed some great technologies. However, those technologies are then not really well suited, and they don't find product market fit, and they don't know, and those guys, they don't know how to create a business out of them. So how to run a company, how actually it's a different thing than about inventing some great revolutionary solution, but then running the company. And a lot of the times we see that this is a problem, and I think that there is an element of education that should be really introduced into with like young founders, and teaching them from the beginning, okay, you got some great technology, but how you want to sell it, commercialize it, and develop it as a business. So this is a very important element. I think what else is that those also young founders, they need role models, and more role models of great successful CEE companies. So, you know, this is something that they could follow. And also, I think is important is, when you mentioned Israel, I think also in Israel, what is important is that the founders of the companies that became successful and they sold their shares, then they are also then again reinvesting their money into the ecosystem. Yeah. And helping the new generations and other founders, let's make the success again because I knew how I did it, I built my company, I'll reinvest and work with you. So I think this is an important element of building the professional ecosystem of innovation. So it's also the founders. And then what is also very important is a good system of support from the government. And I think agencies like Czech Invest or Polish Development Fund, for example, in Poland, or some other government agencies, they should really work on helping out to finance good companies, finance good VC funds that would then deliver the capital to the companies. So, and also good market terms rules when it comes to the rules that would support the innovation.
Yeah. Speaking of Israel, for example, looking at the map, I'm running a series of incubators across Central and Eastern Europe, or Southeast Europe, depends how you look at it. And we work a lot with Israel, including EIT, the EIT hub in Israel. And one thing that they say when they look at CEE, they say the problem with investing in CEE is that it's too fragmented. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really have a business identity, if you like. This is similar to Chinese money. If somebody still takes them, takes it, or even to the US venture capitals. So I'm not saying we should have an identity, but in the same time, there's a very fragmented and very different the way it looks. Now, Klaus, you've been recently to Romania to launch what's it called, a Future of Innovation Technology Hub. I should know how it's called, but do you think, what is the role of smaller, if you like, innovation, or if it's innovation hubs in the bigger game?
Yeah, when it comes to startups, you really have to create also a local market for the startups. You know, before I was nominated as Chief Everything Officer of ERD Manufacturing in 2020 or 2019, I was 18 years in the corporate technology of Siemens, heading the department for software and system engineering. When I joined the corporate technology of Siemens in 2002, our thinking was the lab is our world. Yeah. We didn't look outside. We had a few university collaborations, financing some PhD. But over these 18 years, this has changed completely. The corporate technology of Siemens is now completely different. This acts more, now the headline is, the world is our lab. And they are acting more as a scouting organization, yeah? Looking outside which technologies are available in research institutes, in universities, in startups, then develop all by their own. And I think there is still room for improvement for all the existing companies in the CEE countries to open up, to look outside what is there. Yeah, we run every year our so-called Boost Up competition. Or our Boost Up and our Teaching Factory competition too. In the Boost Up competition, we ask the industry partners of our partnership to come up with concrete challenges they have. Now, not in 5 years. And then we are looking for startups, they have solutions for these challenges. And as we do this with an open call, we can even financially support the collaboration between the established company and the startup. We have several companies in our partnership. They say, no, we want not to go public with our challenges. We will do this in a private session. Yeah. Then they define the challenge. We bring 15, 20 startups to them. But then we cannot financially support. You know, we are dealing with European taxpayers' money. We have to be always open and transparent. So we really want to bring the corporate world and the startup world together. The same we do with universities. We ask the corporates to define their challenge, and then we ask the students, the universities, to establish student groups and develop solutions for these challenges. And I'm happy that the CDU Prague is quite active in our master's school, in our PhD program, and also in our Teaching Factory competition. Yeah? And this is how we really want to bring these worlds together. And there, especially in open up, to look outside, there is still room for improvement in the CEE countries. Yeah.
And coming back to the smaller innovation ecosystems like Serbia and some others, right? Romania, it's a big country, smaller.
For me, Serbia, Bulgaria, also the Czech Republic, I don't think that these are really small countries. Yeah, when you look at the tradition they have, especially in manufacturing. Yeah, the long tradition they have, they are highly industrialized regions, also in Serbia and Romania, in Bulgaria, and especially here in the Czech Republic. I would not call them small in this regard. Yeah. They have a weight in Europe.
But venture capitalists call them small, because VCs call them small because they are very small in terms of the companies and the level of investment.
Yeah, I mean, we have roughly more than 2 million industry organizations around in Europe active in manufacturing. More than 95% of them are small and medium-sized companies. Yeah. So also there, also in Germany, the so-called famous Mittelstand, these are mostly small and medium-sized companies.
Yeah. I have a challenge for our 5 panelists to answer this question, which is a sort of a question, right? This is the title of the panel. Like, could CEE countries or the region become powerhouses of innovation and digitalization? And if so, how and when? And if you could focus on working together, because so far, most of what I've heard from you is not that much into how we work together, but how you individually grow. So whoever wants to pick it up. Sure, yeah.
I think that CEE will become the powerhouse, actually, of innovation and digitalization. And it will become thanks to the double or even triple transition, so digital, green, and it will also lead to industrial transition. And I think that because of also of the potential coming in from the green transition, meaning that even though right now the level of investments in the CEE and actually the climate tech is still low, but the potential is still very high for this to really grow. I think that if we look at the statistics, out of the whole budget invested into climate tech investments, to the CEE, only 0.79% comes in.
0.7. Not even 1%?
Yeah.
Not even 1?
No, not even 1. And then if you, on the other hand, if you look at it, CEE is responsible for 4% of greenhouse gases emission. So even if we look at the statistics of the region coming up, let's say 4%, so it's 4 times money still coming in in this sector. And I think that this sector will still, because of this potential, it will be the driver of the growth. And that's why I think Poland, all of the countries have to be decarbonized. So I think that the working together and the collaboration between those countries is absolutely crucial. So setting up technologies that will decarbonize energy will help, even if they are being set up invented and developed in Romania, will be very beneficial for Polish economy, as it has the same problems and challenges, Czech Republic or Slovakia or other countries in the region, and even touching on Serbia and others. So I think that there is a lot of space for the companies to, first of all, to collaborate. I think for the governmental agencies to also cooperate between each other, setting up trans-CEE schemes, and also for the investors, VC funds, to cooperate between each other to really develop this ecosystem. So I think that this cooperation should come at really different layers.
Let's go to Ivo, and whoever wants to join after that.
I go next.
Yeah.
Could you shortly just put there the map? Yeah, I just wanted to say, as a historian by education, I would like to spend an hour talking about this and about how Milan Kundera had his dispute in the 60s with Václav Havel about stealing of the Central Europe and so on. But I think this map is wrong. That's my point. I think from the perspective of the Czech Republic and where we should put our eyes on and where we should be comparing ourselves is actually Bavaria, maybe Vienna, those places. And this is actually something that when I talk to politicians and entrepreneurs, I'm saying Prague has the biggest potential out of the region. It has a great brand. There's based on how you measure it, but around 60% of the potential of the Czech Republic is actually here. But all the cohesion funds, all the investments goes into the regions, which is good, but the government is not actually working enough with this. We are trying to change this, together with the government. But the thing is, we are basically trying to level up the field while we are missing the potential. And since me living here and so on, I see that there is a lot of people who see this potential in the upcoming startups in Prague. My daughter goes into kindergarten. Half of the kids don't. The Czech is not their first language, And I think to answer your question, we have a chance here because we have a great place where people want to live, where people want to work, where people want to invest. In Czech Invest, we usually, when we are trying to attract foreign direct investments, we just show them Prague, they're sold. There's not so much, it's all about the numbers and so on, but this is the great benefit that we have. But the thing is, for example, Czechs, even for this, don't go to work abroad as much as people from Bulgaria, Poland, and therefore they tend to compare themselves not to the places that I mentioned, but to Brno or to Zlín. We're still number one, so why bother? And this is the bad mindset. But thanks to the growing expat community that we have here, and I see that one of the most successful startups are actually being. I say the most successful Czech startup has a Dutch salesman and Czech technician. That's the best superpower that you can have. So we can work this out. We just need to do a couple of steps to unlock this potential that we actually have. And it's not just Prague, Brno as well. I can see international companies working there, Czech startups having expats community. First, and this might be controversial, but I think that university education should be in English. especially in the STEMs, because when I speak with the university representatives and they say, yeah, we get less and less students, I say, yeah, but they are all Czechs, right?
Yeah. Can I make an exercise with the audience to also get your energy up again? For those of you that live in Prague or in Czechia, I'm not sure how to say it now these days after last night. So, do you think STEM education at university level should be taught in English in the Czech Republic? Okay, we don't know how many Czechs are in the room, but it's a rather small percentage.
The fun part is that when I spoke with the professors and asked them like, so then they they teach them everything in Czech, like how the parts are made, everything, and then they have another lessons where they teach them how it's done in English. So like they have to teach them twice the same thing, and all the
repetition
research
is good usually. So.
And all the research is done in English, so it doesn't make.
Let's go to Senta. Senta wrote a comment on LinkedIn a couple of days ago that she hopes this conversation is sparkling. So let's hear a sparkling conversation.
I have another sparkle to this conversation, and this is that I am like 80% skeptical and 20% positive.
Okay, so let's talk about the positive.
Yeah, so what should happen to be positive? I think we should make the STEM field much more attractive. It has not been attractive like 30 years ago when I joined it, and then it ramped up. Yeah, people, really smart people, were very eager to study computer science. Not anymore. And it will be even worse because we will be seeing that lots of coding will be done through co-pilots. So my suggestion is let's make STEM sexy again. And I would do it with simplifying the computer science portfolios or syllabuses at our universities. And I would also focus on the fast tracks. I would give chance to our kids, students, to study not computer science with like robust curricula as we did it, because it's killing, especially for some people, millennials, who are not so hardworking students as we used to be. So lots of mathematics and things like that. So I would focus on practicalities of what should be the coder really using as tools, and soft skills, how to pitch, how to talk to investors, blah, blah, blah. I would attract women into this field because we are not stupid, but we are not getting the chance. And we are facing lots of stereotypes. Yeah? If we want to study computer science, we are, I think, facing many problems. So open this field to women.
You should come to Romania. We have more women.
Yeah, you are better than us. Yeah? But
there's one thing that we're better at.
Here we are very kind of stereotyped towards the women who goes to study, like myself, electrical engineering. We are stigmatized. Like, are you really a female if you study like electrical engineering? Yes, I am.
What is a female, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I would go that way.
So open it up, to all the genders, to the people who are not super geniuses in mathematics, because this is not anymore needed, with the co-pilots, and focus on the practicalities of this innovation business and bring this sparkle into it. So the sparkle can come, for example, with the clear strategy. We don't have any strategy in Czech Republic. Like, what we want to be proud of in innovation? What technology? Is it blockchain? Is it quantum computing? Is it artificial intelligence? We don't know. So we do everything and nothing. So
Chinese planning is always sometimes and always and sometimes a good idea.
Once we have the strategy in our countries, we can then put the strategy in the CEE. But there we need a similar leader as like Václav Havel, but with the technical mindset.
We have about 11 minutes and 47 seconds, and I would like to switch from a very important conversation about early stage, let's call it, education, startups, to the more hardcore, mature, if you like, innovation in tech, deep tech, industry, right? And you're all part of the topic as well. How do you see, let's go to Ian maybe and Klaus first, how do you see the industrial innovation, the one that actually makes also more money, if you like, because startups very slow, small, maybe one of them can go up. But talking about the big players, how do you see the region and how do you see us all working together whilst competing with each other? Yeah, one of you.
Yeah, maybe I can start, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there are more layers, as you just said, right? So there are like smaller startups, right? And then you have industrials, right? So which are, let's be frank, the real like engine of growth, right? And then the smaller companies, smaller startups, they are just like filling the gaps, right? And I also agree with Senta. This is also very important to understand. I mean, what we would like as a country or as a region to achieve, and then have some strategy. But we've been talking about it for I don't know, last like 20 years, right? And it's pretty much the same, right? So let's not be naive, right? And back to your question. So, I mean, I think that depends on type of industry, definitely, right? So, I mean, automotive is feeding pretty much just the entire Central Eastern Europe, right? Which is where I would say the real innovations are coming probably from their headquarters, yeah. Right? So, and some maybe smaller stuff is being done here. But where I see, generally speaking, the potential is like a science and engineering, right? So this is something I mean, everybody's talking about like Elon Musk or, I don't know, like Apple and so on, right? So from a perspective of entrepreneurship, or Amazon, right? But if you go 2 layers, I would say deeper, you see these people are super smart engineers, the best people around the world, right? So they work with the semiconductors and they designing all this type of stuff, or now the electric battery industry. It's industry of its own right now, EV battery, right? For entire closed loop life cycle thing, it's growing bigger and bigger. This is definitely, I don't see any serious discussion about this here in Czech or in Central Europe. Okay, let's build another, I would say, gigafactory, but it's still like an assembly thing, right? So it moves you nowhere, definitely, right? So that's what I see. I mean, from my perspective, the even let's say like big companies, and this is also these like big companies in Germany. Germany is super conservative, right? But if you think about the BASF, Siemens, and the others, right? They are very innovative on that top layer, right? They are coming with super new products, right? Like new thoughts. They acquire, even helping out with the startups that are collaborating with universities. But these are like a real engine of I would say, of growth, of competitiveness of the Europe. Because we talk about the CEE, right? But generally speaking, Europe could become, I would say, just a place for tourists from Asia in next 50, 100 years, right? If we don't accelerate.
Is that so bad?
And it's what's maybe happening already sometimes, right? So we are pretty much exotic place for them, right? So like place where everything started, but where people live in a super small villages and everything is nice, but it's it, right? But the business is somewhere else, right? So we need to really understand that, in my perspective, really science, engineering, that deep knowledge of that, right? So you can cheat it. I mean, of course, you can have another startup like developing the 10th platform and thousandth, I would say, tool for coders, whatever, right? But that won't make you a powerhouse or I would say, the center of innovation here in Europe, right? So it's not enough.
I spent a lot of time both in the US and China, and the way these two ecosystems, let's call them, look at not just Romania, but the region, is the following. And I have the same question from Chinese investors or US investors. What should I invest in what are you good at? And you go to agriculture, you go to climate-related, let's call them issues. You go to a bit IT, but not that much. Maybe just in Ukraine in the days. So with this in mind, how can we grow innovation in Central and Eastern Europe, but in a more strategic way, right?
Yeah. First of all, I mean, for me, startups are sparks. Yeah. And the spark, if you have no oxygen or a small piece of paper or some wood to it, the spark is gone. Yeah? So you have to generate an environment that delivers this oxygen, this small piece of paper, that out of the spark becomes a flame at the end of fire. Yeah? And this is the value of an ecosystem, to deliver the oxygen, to deliver the paper, that these sparks really can become a flame. And looking on the global scene, I mean, for me, there is a huge opportunity for the Central Eastern Europe. We have experienced during the COVID and also with the war in Ukraine how fragile the worldwide distributed supply chains in manufacturing are. Yeah? And we will not have a deglobalization, what some press puts on their headlines. Due to my opinion, we will have rather a reglobalization. So manufacturing will organize worldwide their production, their supply chains new, to avoid dependencies we had in the past, and which leads to shortcomings with chips and with other raw materials we need. Yeah? And this is, for me, a huge opportunity for Eastern Europe in this reglobalization of the industrial supply chains. And the second is the green transition. I mean, there will be a market for remanufacturing, for green technologies. We invest this year more than $500,000 in the development of a technology for dismantling of batteries, not for assembly of batteries, but for dismantling of batteries. You know, we are building all over in Europe new battery plants. And all the raw materials, graphite, manganese, cobalt, lithium, you name it, they are not available in Europe. So the recycling of these batteries is a must to become at least to some extent independent from other parts of the world when it comes to these raw materials. So we invest there in an automated process of dismantling of batteries. Yeah? And such technologies will be needed in the future towards the decarbonization of industry, towards the circular economy. Manufacturing was over centuries driven by the triangle of cost, quality, and time. Developing prefabricated or goods for the consumer market better than the competition, faster than the competition, with a better cost position than the competition. We have now to take sustainability on the same level. We have to integrate sustainability in all the methodologies, from the early design till the end of the product. And therefore, we have to rethink manufacturing. We have to rethink what we manufacture and how we manufacture. And in this transition, there is a huge opportunities for the brain power you have here in the CEE countries.
I feel very much like to continue this conversation.
A last word, then I'm done.
Half a minute.
Coming back to Tomáš, he mentioned healthcare cities where the YAUF are interested in. You have to look at manufacturing. Look around us. The food on our plate, the plate itself, the table where it's on, our transportation means, our communication means, our healthcare equipment. All is at the end a result of a manufacturing process. Every moment, each of us is in touch with a manufactured process, with the result of a manufactured process. So manufacturing determines our life to a large extent. So if we want to change our life and the world to a better, start with changing something in manufacturing. Good, thank you.
Now, I would very much like to continue this conversation, and I invite everyone here also to Bucharest in 19 October for the Climate Change Summit, where we also have Linda with us and some others, to see how actually the supply chain, how the new supply chains are related to us. We have some questions from the audience. We have you two, so let's go in 1 minute, let's say 2 minutes.
One element that I wanted to mention, because it was always also on the map as a map of CEE, is Ukraine. And we haven't actually discussed this. I think that reconstruction of Ukraine will be done under the green transition. It will be already new green and energy efficient factories, energy efficient transport, green transport. So I think that the proximity of CEE and being part of this also generates possibly a great testing bed or a market for CEE companies, young companies, to really develop and excel on this market and then scale globally. So I think this is one important will be element that could help.
If we still have people here running our businesses, because everyone is going to go to Ukraine and rebuild it. So It's going to be interesting. The lack of labor that we have now, let's see, 3 years from now, that's going to be interesting. Ian, you wanted to point out something?
Yeah, maybe because we have only like 1 minute, maybe two last lines. First one, we definitely need more women in business. I 100% agree, right? Yeah. Great brains, right? So when we are missing them, especially here, CE, that's huge potential to open here. The other thing, I don't really think that sorry for saying that, that manufacturing something in a better way gets us somewhere, right? So it's not about I would say, being better in something, but it's I think generally speaking, I mean, it's about from a worldwide level. It's maybe about a number of patents. If you look, I mean, which country is putting or creating or signing up the most of the patents for everything, right? So it's probably not here, right? So that innovation in terms of really like crucial things, it's something which is really going to move us ahead. Otherwise, we still be following over and over.
I'm going to not ask, but put to everyone for the break some questions that we have got from you. Many companies operating on the Czech market have a foreign mother. Is it questionable what level of decision-making is located here? So that's also strong because HQ usually pushes for a certain direction. And we've also touched on value chains and supply chains and how can we go to lower tiers and see how we can move into that. We have about 10 seconds. Oh, the time is increasing. So we are now 16, 17. It's amazing how time works. So very short.
So just in a nutshell, because Czech Invest was founded to attract these foreign companies, and in the beginning, it was basically about creating the jobs that have value in the first decade, 90s and so on. But later, we were able to actually attract even the innovation centers of these companies. And it's basically how you should operate and how you should grow in the international market. First, you attract the manufacturing because that's the, let's say, easiest to move. It's not something that you need to, it could be moved easier than the innovation centers. In the later decades and in the recent years, we are focusing mostly and almost, I would say, mainly on attracting the jobs with added value, especially the innovation centers and so on. And there are some great examples of the international companies that have big, maybe biggest in Europe, innovation centers in Czech Republic. For example, I would mention Honeywell, one of many. Yeah.
Let's take one sentence each, and answer a very interesting question. What is the purpose of innovation? So let's take 10 seconds to give it some thought, and I would very much like everyone to say a sentence, not a speech. So let's start with you, maybe. What is the purpose of innovation?
Basically to change or to disrupt.
Okay. I would ask why, but
for me, it would be maybe not to just to repeat, right? So to be there to improve the quality of life, generally.
What else can you say?
Yeah, to secure our future here.
Okay.
To guarantee a better future for us.
To create our national and regional identity and to be proud at something which makes sense and which is in line with our values, CEE values.
Lovely. So on that note, with the CEE values, and in the break we will actually talk about what the CEE values are. But I think they're connected to collaboration. I think they're connected to working together, and that most of us have had a similar past. That means that we had to struggle more than others. On that note, I wish you a great break, I think, right? And let's give a big round of applause to this amazing people that we've had this morning. You have the floor.
Can you hear me? Wonderful. Before you go to the break, thanks very much for this incredibly interesting panel with many insights. Thanks for fantastic moderation, Ciprian. Really well done. I have to say that I feel a bit ashamed for being older, white, and male after this panel. On the flip side, On the flip side, I'm happy to hear that the mathematics is not already in it. Anyways, I see that you're already leaving for a break. We'll have a break until 11. There will be 2 gongs. 1 gong means please do wrap up your conversations. Please do wrap up your conversations, exchange cards, and start moving to rooms. 2nd gong means we are starting. So let's try to be disciplined, if I may ask. Thanks very much.